It is January 3rd, 2021, and this is the latest news on the PCR requirement for Colombia. Follow along. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you're located. This is the latest news on the PCR requirement for Colombia. The news is there is now a PCR requirement to enter the country of Colombia via air for all foreign travelers. Again, it is January 3rd, 2021, and this is the latest story. I'm going to read a few stories. I'm going to go pretty quick because I want to get this out to you guys as soon as possible. I know some people are leaving over the next couple of weeks. This may have a bearing on their travel. So let's jump right in. Travelers arriving in Colombia must present a negative PCR test as established by the Ministry of Health through Resolution 2532 issued on December 31st, 2020. The modification was adopted by the ruling issued by the 11th Administrative Court of the Circuit of Bogota at the end of November, which established that the proof must be presented before boarding and must be required as an entry requirement for all those who enter by air. In the Minsalud document, it is ordered that the test must be issued in a term no longer than 96 hours before boarding. According to the resolution, this measure applies to all people, regardless of their age, who come to the country from abroad, whether they are nationals or not. That's a new one. In addition, passengers with a fever or respiratory symptoms associated with COVID-19 and those who have not previously completed the checkmate application will not be allowed to board. Passengers who do not have the PCR test may only be allowed to board when they state that they had difficulties to take it or to obtain it. The results in a term stipulated for the flight, says the letter. According to the highest health authority, in these cases, the traveler must be informed that once they enter the country, they must carry out the PCR test and keep preventative isolation of 14 days. So the isolation may end sooner if the result of the PCR test is negative. That's good. It may also be extended by epidemiological criteria, says the document. Regarding the cost of the PCR test and the cost of preventative isolation, they assure that they will be in charge of the traveler. So you're going to have to pay for it. The Ministry of Health in the place of disembarkation and the destination will be in charge of verifying that the travelers keep preventative isolation, says the portfolio. It should mention that this resolution modifies the technical annex to Resolution 1627 of 2020 and repeals Resolution 1972 of 2020. So there you have it. It looks like you have to have a PCR test. If you don't have it for whatever reason, you can't make it in time, you can do it on that side, on the Colombian side. But if it comes up positive, then it looks like they'll relieve you of your 14-day quarantine need. You know, let's say you take it the day that you get in, and it takes 2 days to get it, you have to quarantine during that period. And if you are negative, then you're good. If not, it sounds like hit the road, Jack. Who knows how this is all going to be carried out? But here we go. Here's the second story. This one's by El Tiempo. The first one was by elpais.com. This is El Tiempo. Travelers entering the country must present negative PCR test. The Ministry of Health issued a resolution that has been enforced since December 31st. How they sneaked this by us. This did not make the news until this evening. I think the earliest is 6 or 5 o'clock, something like that. The Ministry of Health, through Resolution 532 of December 31st, 2020, modified the technical annex to Resolution blah, blah, blah in order to biosafety management for the control of risk of COVID-19 in international air transport. In this document, the ministry clarified that while the challenge to the guardianship ruling issued by the 11th Administrative Court is being resolved, the non-demand prior to shipment in the country of origin of the PCR test with negative results is suspended. Similarly, the quarantine or preventative isolation measure for 14 days the travelers had to comply with is abolished. So as long as you take your PCR test, you don't need the quarantine. It's a non-issue, as long as you don't pop positive on your test. In other words, from the date of the resolution, the PCR test will be required of international travelers entering the country by air. In that sense, the airport authorities will demand this requirement in each district according to the document. Okay, let's jump to the next one. Travelers must arrive. This is El Espectador. In a resolution issued on December 31st, 2020, the Ministry of Health modified this ruling for those arriving in the country from abroad. The decision was made due to the ruling issued by a judge in Bogota at the end of November. So if you want to know who wins between the judge's order and the president and the government, I think we just found out, in Colombia anyway. In a resolution 2532 issued on December 31st, 2020, the Ministry of Health changed a rule for travelers arriving in Colombia from abroad. From now on, they must present a PCR test that confirms that they do not have COVID-19. The Ministry of Health's decision was made due to the ruling issued at the end of November by the 11th Administrative Court of Orality of the Bogota Circuit. So the government caved. Despite criticism from a large part of the scientific community and Judge Giovanni Humberto Allegro for not having taken evidence into account, so far the challenge has not been resolved. So it's still up in the air, it looks like, but like the judge says, okay, until we resolve this, do it. I wrote an order, do it. So that sounds like where we are right now. He said, you don't have to, just do what I'm saying for right now, and if you want to fight it, but do it. So now in the Minsalud document, travelers are ordered to present this test with a negative result. It must be issued in a term no longer than 96 hours before boarding. Who should present it? All people from 0 years, ooh, wow, that means everybody who come into the country from abroad are nationals or not, say the resolution. In any cases, passengers with fever or respiratory symptoms associated with COVID-19 and those who have not previously filled out the check-make application will not be allowed to board, says Minsalud. I'm going to stop here. You get the gist of all the stories. This is it right here. You have to have a negative PCR test before you can enter Colombia by air from any foreign nationals, from any foreign visitors, whether nationals or not. If you cannot make it in a timely order, then you can actually take the test when you get there, but you have to quarantine until that test result comes back, it looks like. How they're going to handle checking up on you and all is, you know, I'm not saying that right now. I will continue to research this story, but I wanted to get this out to you as soon as possible because I know if they pass this on the 31st of last year, which was last Thursday, what happened to the people who traveled there on Saturday and Sunday? Because this news did not break until this afternoon. So what happened to those guys? So anyway, I know some of you guys are leaving in mid-January. I know of a couple of you are leaving in January and some in February, and I've heard March also. So a lot of people were planning on going down. So work out the details now, but just realize that you have to take the test and you have to do it 96 hours before. Now, the ambiguity is still there. I'm not saying a definitive, okay, you have to take the test within 96 hours and the result comes in a day before. Or do you have to get the results within 96 hours? Because some people are waiting, doing the test like 5 days out before. So I know I'm going to get that question. I'm not an expert. I'm passing on the information as I see it right now. I will continue to research this, but I wanted to get this out to you guys as soon as possible. So please be safe. Again, if I'm offering any information of benefit, do me a favor, go down and hit the subscribe button, click the bell to be alerted of any new videos. And thank you guys for watching. Please be safe.
We have a YouTube channel, like it.
Please comment and share if you liked the video. Please subscribe and kick the bell.